So, you hear about that subway shooting the other day, right?
Yeah. Well, can you go into detail about it? I just heard glimpse details about it.
You heard glimpse? No, you see a glimpse. You don't hear a glimpse. That's not the correct way to use that word.
All right. I'm not an English major.
Okay, yeah,
I'm
I'll
a
explain
mathematics
it.
person.
The correct thing to say was elaborate more. Right?
Elaborate more
I'm
on
not
the
an
topic.
English major either. I'm fucking 17, so.
All right. Well.
Yeah. So what happened basically? There was this guy. Kind of grew up in New York. Then he moved pretty much all over the country. He was in the Midwest for a little bit in Milwaukee. I think he lived in Philadelphia the time he committed this atrocity in New York. And basically, he had a YouTube channel where he would just rant about everything. Like,
That sounds like us.
He hated whites. No, but he was like one of them motherfuckers. He hated whites, he hated blacks, he hated Jews, he hated the mayors. Like, he hated all these people. And there was a bunch of videos on his YouTube channel, just ranting about these people. And a lot of times, you could see it was pretty obvious that there were some deep mental issues with this guy. He left very chilling hints. He said, I don't care if I go to jail. My life is basically fucked right now. Like, I don't really care what happens to me. He said that it's not the shooter, it's what society does to the shooter that makes him do something when he was commenting on other atrocities.
So did he, live in the city all his life, pretty much?
He grew up in New York. I think he moved out 2006 or something like that. It was the first time he moved out. But he hated it. He blamed New York in his videos. He blamed New York for all of his mental trauma and all this. And you saw all this. I told you he went to Milwaukee, he went to Philadelphia, but you saw.
So he just went city to city. He didn't try reaching out to the country though.
No.
Try to get away from the people.
Mm-mm.
He just basically went back right into another city, a whole new environment, thinking there would be change, but.
No, a lot of big cities are the same. Like, people in New York just complain about New York. It'll be the same in Philadelphia. It'll be the same in Milwaukee. Milwaukee, the traffic isn't as bad, but it's still a major city. Yeah.
They're always on a mission. Everybody in the city.
Yeah, and they're not as compassionate as people, I feel like, where we live in the rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
But
do you think the guy would be say, for example, put him not a mental hospital, we could too, but say if you moved him out to a country land area, basically living on his own, maybe with a dog or something, how do you think he'll do? Do you think it would be better, or
you say, okay, let's make this person grow up in this area?
Yeah, or when he moved out 2006, why didn't he go to the country? Do you think he would his actions would have changed?
Maybe it would have saw him a different point of view of life. Perhaps it would have. But I really don't think that when a person's that far gone, especially when the trauma was built up in New York, right? Maybe if you could make the argument if he was born in a rural area, then yeah, maybe he wouldn't turn out this way. But he already had that trauma from being in New York, which pretty much caused this shooting in the first place, and he never dealt with it. And that was just going to come out in other areas because it was never dealt with.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So what happened, though, exactly? Shooting.
Put a gas mask. It was a freaky ass attack, something straight out of a movie. He put a gas mask on and threw gas bombs into the subway and just let off rounds. Now, thankfully, he didn't kill anybody, but he did send 13 to the hospital or something like that.
He didn't kill anyone? That's surprising.
That was very, very surprising, and it was a good thing to hear. Like, you said that, that was disappointing. You're like, you didn't kill anyone?
Well, no, I'm just saying. I'm just surprised.
You said that.
I'm not disappointed. He's jeez. I'm just surprised he didn't get anyone with that.
You said that someone reacting to Donovan Mitchell's first half yesterday. He only had 2 points. He didn't kill anyone? Okay, yeah, but is it a bad thing?
It's a very good thing he didn't kill anyone.
It is a very good thing. Because killings are just insane in this country. You talk about some of the major cities, 60% of murders go unsolved in Chicago, 70% go unsolved in Jacksonville. It's just, murders don't usually go solved, especially when they're gun violence, because you just spray the guy and you get out.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Yeah, no, it's not like you're stabbing someone, you're leaving a blood trail or something like that. No, it's literally you could drive up to someone, shoot them to death, and they don't know it was you, because there's 17,000 people in the city with the exact same gun.
It's crazy, because, people in the city, they also, I was talking to a few of my boys from Philadelphia. They go to Temple, Billy Nate.
I know them.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were telling me, they were telling me, how they just shoot off fireworks down there on the streets, and sometimes you don't know if it's a gunshot or just a firework just going off.
Yeah, I know. It's probably Temple's a bad area. Like it's right. Like here's Temple, and here are like literally all the bad areas of Philadelphia right around Temple.
Yeah, the
It's just
crazy part is like they're telling me like the crime rate in Temple is like 0.2% or something like that, but that's just on campus.
it's on campus.
Yeah, you walk like 500 feet off campus.
Which was
you're
where a
screwed.
lot of these college students are living. Like, it's dangerous. It's one of the more dangerous areas in the United States. Now it's not as bad as certain areas of Chicago or like I said Jacksonville or even like New York, but it's still pretty bad. It's still not good that there's this much crime in the inner cities, and a lot of things you could blame for it. You could blame redlining. You could blame just like the system of.
What's redlining?
You know what redlining is?
Oh.
Basically, it was the segregation of communities back in like the 60s. Certain communities where they lived, they were redlined, right? So here was like the suburbs, and here was the inner city. This is usually how I went. Inner city got redlined, and everything past this red line didn't qualify for certain loans, certain funding, certain, just overall social programs that the ones over here did. Like they were able to take out loans, they were able to grow wealth, they were able to buy houses and shit. And that's why we have such a, racial inequity in this country and, wealth divide in this country, because the system was designed in a way that it just made these groups harder to grow wealth than others. And some been able to. And it sucks because, like, we aren't like that. We don't have that mindset today, but it's kind of like a lot of these people are still living under the same conditions as they would have been back in like the 60s.
Well,
and it's not right. We need to do something about it.
Here's the thing, what really scratched my mind. I watched a video around Christmas time about the architecture in Manhattan and New York City and how they're building all these high-rises, multi-million-dollar high-rises, and basically one wealthy person gets a floor on the high-rise. And they get away with all these tax cuts and everything like that because they're building houses for like the inner city people, right? But the people that are living in it can't afford it. They can't afford to upkeep it. They can't afford
that. But like they get the project's tax break because
because they built it, and like now people living in the skyscrapers don't have to pay taxes in New York City for like 10 years or more.
It's fucked how some people do it. Like they just abuse charities and shit like that.
Guess how much money they're missing out on right now in New York City in taxes?
How much?
$7.4 billion.
I think they would need some of that money.
That's just on the low end, I'm pretty sure.
With the amount of poverty that's in New York, with how expensive it is, like you can make $70,000 in New York. It's like making $40,000, $30,000 around here. Like it's insane.
Like that guy went crazy in New York City. He says,
Yeah, I mean it's just.
Look at the conditions they have.
I don't want to blame the city for what he does. He was a terrible man, but
Exactly.
that combined with the stigma against mental health, like this guy was basically a cry for help. Like my therapist said, like we were talking about this situation, he's like, certain people like that, like they are just begging for it. They're begging for some type of assistance. They don't know it themselves, but like
they need it.
They need it. Yeah, it's basically like, someone's showing signs of dementia or something like that.
Yeah.
And we usually take stuff like that seriously. We should be taking other things seriously.
Yeah, I feel like we gotta have more help for some stuff. But do you think with this guy, for example, I brought this up to you before, the YouTube algorithm and stuff like that, with machine learning and everything these days, and voice recognition.
Should have been pulled, is what you're trying to say? Like he should have
not pulled, but like flagged or something.
I think he should have got like the same treatment like Donald Trump got on a lot of these social.
I feel like they should have been like not like flagged, but like somehow helped out, like help out the guy. Like YouTube could have reported it to something.
Reported to him, try to find him, get him some state counseling or something like that. I understand what you're saying there, but like,
can YouTube
doesn't
even do
give
that?
A fuck.
They
don't, but they don't give a fuck because the guy has no audience, right? So basically, according to YouTube, like he didn't even exist. He's spreading all this hateful rhetoric, and he wasn't really spreading it because then again he didn't have an audience, but he's saying all these hateful things, and basically because he was never really dissected or talked to or something like that, like something like YouTube would, or report him, get him in the state counseling, was able to fester. And that YouTube, he basically used it as a cesspool for all of his emotions and shit like that, and then the few people that he had would say, yeah, you're right, then and then that would only encourage him more and more, and then you saw what happened.
Mm-hmm.